right, to get us started off on the right track, this morning we have invited a presenter known as Wisdom Keeper of the Sacred Sciences. His mission and life work are dedicated to the spiritual sovereignty and evolution of our planet and species. He builds morphogenetic fields in new Earth grid templates for our planet's evolving consciousness and ascension pathway to the higher dimensions, and supports beings and organizations that are bringing through the next evolution of teaching technology systems and support for unified collective consciousness. This is the only conference in the world where I could give such an introduction. So please help me welcome Christof Melchizedek.
Good morning, Anarchapulco. How are we doing? Yeah? Right. Let me just set a little field up here. Scalaba. 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 Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. I come to you today with a message of hope and a message of victory. Our victory, most importantly, your victory, and the most important one of all, the victory over yourself. And how, if we can attune to what's going on in the big picture, we can very quickly accelerate out of what is into this new world that we're all longing for. So who's ready to hear this message? Yeah? I was guided from the higher realms to come to this event and to come and tune in to where this audience was at, because there's a little awakening happening. Who can feel it? Yeah? A few years ago, there was anarchists were a bunch of angry, pissed off people in blame, yeah? But when you point the finger at someone, guess what? There's three fingers pointing back at you. And I promise you, how you win this is not by fighting what is, it's building what you love. We win this through love. And I'm going to share with you today some extraordinary things that have happened to our planet to give you this message of hope and to give you the internal motivation and internal guidance and compass to get to your consciousness to where you want to be, because the real battle is over consciousness. I'm going to share with you how you can free that, unchain your consciousness, plug yourself into your higher self, connect to your soul purpose, and live with effortlessness, ease, and grace for the unfolding of the divine plan which is happening on our planet. I promise you. Okay? Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about the divine plan, and in the highest dimensions, this is known as the Christos realignment mission. And this is a plan set in motion millions of years ago, and the only thing that's happened is that there's been a little bit of interference with this plan of recalibrating our planet into the Christos architecture, Christ consciousness, which has been our trajectory as set in motion by the Creator. And we've just had a little bit of interference along the way. And what I'm going to share with you is what has been decreed by Source and dropped down through the Guardian Alignment Councils to bring towards our planet the solution sets to make this happen, override the control systems that are currently happening on our planet, burst through that into our promised land of that frequency, that energy that we all know exists. So I'm not going to go too much into my background, but just knowing that I'm a 3 archetypes, my soul signature, navigator. I help people into their sweet spot, that place of internal alignment where their purpose, their passion and profession all intersect and align, and they find themselves just effortlessly, gracefully turning up with ease and grace to doing what they do, not chasing life, but attracting it, bringing towards them all the relevant events, people, of timelines to create and shape a new reality. an architect, I help architect morphogenetic grids, both on a bigger scale and a smaller scale. So planetary level, and I'm going to share some of the missions we've been doing around the planet to help anchor in a new architecture, but also a new architecture or morphogenic field for individuals so that their vibrational alignments are tuned to their soul purpose. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. And Guardian. I'm interfacing with the Guardian realms, a Guardian Alliance. They're a group of non-physical beings who have been lovingly supporting our planet in service to others and to, obeying the law of one and with unconditional love. And there's been a lot of spotlight on the negative agenda, what's going on and how the 3D control systems across medical, across financial, across all these education systems are playing out, okay? But not enough light being shown on the Guardian agendas and what's playing out here. So I'm here to share with you that agenda, how we're going on all of that, and what you can do to be a part of it. Because most importantly, these things that are happening in the higher realms have to be anchored into the grids, and this is your role. You're the guardians of our planet. You're the guardians of our children. And you have to make a decision. Am I going to step up into my potential? Who's ready to do that? Yeah? All right, let's do this. So, we're going to go into first up the big picture, and then we're going to talk about some things really high up in the higher realms, and we're going to bring it all the way down to the 3D and your next action steps. So, first up, the programming language of this universe. First up, outside of our matrix, there's a trinitized wave format that sits outside of our bubble of our time matrix. This trinitized wave format is Holy Father, Holy Mother, and the Divine Child, the Christ Consciousness Child. These three wave formats are source consciousness. Now, visualize this as three little pieces of rope, different colors, magenta, pale blue, and gold, and intersect and trinitize those together as one rope. So it's simultaneously three individual pieces of rope and one rope at the same time. Hands up who's got that vision. Excellent. That is source code. That then creates and populates the matrix. This particular matrix is made up of a few properties. Sound. Om. First there was the word was God. You might have heard that, read that somewhere. Sound, vibration. Would you like to try? Let's all do it together. Ready? Let's go. Not bad, but I think you can do it better. Mathematics of the universe is 3, 6, 9, so let's do it in threes. Let's stand up this time, and this time when you do it, at the end of it, I want you to keep going with your lips closed. I want you to feel the vibration on your lips. We're all set? Let's go. The big breath. Well done. Not bad, Anarchapulco. Give yourself a hand. All right. Now, hands up who felt the grab a seat. Hands up who felt the vibration on your lips. So, that trinitized wave format consciousness field, which is the source creation, sent a sound vibration. That sound vibration made particles move. That movement of particles is vibration. That vibration went on to create light, sound, vibration, light, which goes on to create color, form, and geometry. And color, form, and geometry, and those things are the programming language of this matrix. If you want to change reality, what do you change? If you're looking at the screen, do I go to try and change the screen to try to change that reality? No, I have to go to the data projector. I have to go to the movie projector. I have to go to where the light meets the film, meets the lens. I have to go to the particles and properties of source, which is sound, vibration, light, color, form, and geometry. And these are the things that create and shape reality. If we want to change reality, we change that first. And I've spent my life dedicated to changing those properties first, so that then it's much easier to change what's happening in the physical, because the physical is built off the morphogenic grids of what is held there. And what happened is, a long time ago, millions and eons of time ago, in the source realms, as source wanted to know itself and express itself a little bit more, a separation from source happened. a consciousness field known as the Metatronic consciousness field separated from source. And in this separation of source, it kind of had that, oh shit, moment. Because as it did so, it lost its eternal connection to the Creator. So therefore, it lost its eternal living life source. It lost its eternity. Therefore, because it was an advanced meta-consciousness field, it knew advanced creational physics. So what it needed to do is it knew it needed to change the morphogenetic grid structures and form-holding fields to create reversals. And so if you can imagine our time-space matrix there, and there's millions of these time-space matrices all around the world, our one is made up of sound, vibration, and light. These other ones are made up of all sorts of other different properties. This meta-consciousness field then started to tap and hack into these other time-space matrices, set up reversal currents and pull frequency out of it so it could continue to live life, to live itself as a consciousness field, because it was now not an internal consciousness. You with me so far? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? So everything we see down here in the 3D is based upon consumptive modeling, because that's what is happening above. Consumptive modeling is a taking energy because it's lost its connection to the living intelligence field of source. This was set up by a geometry known as a biwave. A biwave is two intersecting particles. Now, what was source consciousness? A triwave. A biwave was set up. The Metatronic consciousness field tapped into this time-space matrix with a biwave, and how this moved on was created a geometry, and this geometry has set into this eon of time. We go through these grand cycles of time. Some of you may be aware of the 25,920-year cycle called the precession of the equinoxes. Each rotation of our sun and our solar system, our sun is spiraling through the universe, going around this racetrack. Visualize a racetrack of a horse racetrack, the endpoints of which take 12,000 years to reach. 12,000 years, then another 12,000 years. The endpoints, there's a stream of consciousness that's coming directly from source that is very, very high frequency plasma. Now, there's different wavelengths. Red is very long and slow, dimension 1. Orange is a little quicker, dimension 2. Second chakra, third dimension, yellow, a little bit faster still. Plasma, way up there, is the fastest wavelength. The fast wavelengths hold higher Christic information. The further up you go in the dimensions, the more Christic intelligence resides. And what's happening now is that plasmic frequency is coming into the planet. And what's been happening is that the old cycle of time has been pointed together by this geometry known as the flower of life. And there's nothing wrong with this geometry. However, it is a closed loop geometry. I'm going to prove to you through the mathematics of the flower of life how it's a closed loop. These two intersecting circles there create the mathematics of it. And the mathematics of this formulates the Fibonacci spiral, which has been the building blocks of the manifestation of our reality and creation. So let's do the mathematics. And let's take a look at the mathematics as we look at the Fibonacci. There's no relationship with zero, with source in this architecture. 0 to 1, and then to 1 equals 2. Then you go back to 1. 1 and 2 equals 3. Then you go back and consume 2. 2 and 3 is 5. Then you go back to 5 and consume 3, 5, 8. See how there's no relationship to center? See how its original connection gets further away from source? And see how the spiral unfolds. This geometry has been the form-holding blueprint, the morphogenetic field of our planet and species and evolution, creating birth and death cycles. Okay, this has been responsible for our evolution. And across this time, what's been happening is that our planet is a highly evolved planet that has got high crystalline potential, and it has stargates. Stargates are interdimensional portals. I'm going to show you some of these stargates in a moment. But stargates allow interdimensional and interstellar travel, meaning other beings and other consciousness fields who live in other star systems, other realms. Earth is a high priority target for them because suddenly you can portal in here and transport yourself to other places around the galaxy very simply and easily when you know how to attune your consciousness to travel through the Stargate system. Now, 5,000 years ago on the Egyptian Sumerian timelines, soon after the grids got cleared 12,000 years ago, what happened is that these beings took advantage of that and came in and began planting these geometries, these reversals called metatronic reversals of a biwave consciousness into the Earth grids. They placed them, and they placed the big one under, and you'll guess where, The Great Pyramid, Egypt, of course, okay, that big pyramid, and then all the other reversals started feeding this reversal current into that Great Pyramid where they could pull and siphon off that energy, where the Archon and Intelligences fields could pull this energy off. And then what they would do is they would cap our consciousness to not realize our true divine innate potential as divine beings, because our original potential is of a 12-stranded DNA diamond sun angelic template. We are divine beings. We have access to all dimensions of consciousness. Who we are is infinite, cosmic, divine, unconditional love. That is who we are. These hacks into our consciousness, what they did is they hacked into our DNA. They took away our galactic memory, so we weren't plugged into where our consciousness field was originally from, and we forgot who we were. It's kind of like any of us going into a kindergarten and deciding, you know what, we're going to come into this kindergarten and can completely mind control these kids who can be our slaves. And then what they did is they set up these relatively sophisticated mechanisms of making sure that our consciousness was capped and they could pull our frequency off to sustain the life, because remember, the metatronic consciousness fields needs distorted energy to continue to live. So it set up these elaborate control systems, and over time began mind controlling these elite groups to be able to then set up the culture of society, so that we would be born into a culture where we'd be limited through religion. Okay, religion is a programming tool. Okay, it's not a direct connection. There are these intermediaries between us and God. And so through the control systems and bank and all of these other types of things, they also inserted these little pieces into our DNA that ensured that our DNA didn't naturally and organically open and unwind. And I'm going to give a talk straight after this one in this health and wellness room to go much deeper into DNA and the science of genetic divinity. So if you find this stuff interesting, you might want to follow me. And our DNA got locked, meaning that usually we'd only be locked at third strand of DNA, meaning we would only have 3 strands of consciousness, meaning we would not realize that we have a consciousness other than a body, so we end up thinking that we live in this illusionary realm. And they inserted cell death programs, because one of the things that you may not realize is that the divine human template is designed for biological immortality. And since our original design and through this fall, we've suffered severe genetic digression. But our original template is biological immortality. And if you're a race of beings that want to control humanity, you're not going to allow them to have immortality, because they're going to work it out, right? So these cell death programs were put in, and then because of the operating parameters of the matrix, unconditional love, cooperation, law of one, cause and effect, that we would continue to collect karma on each cycle out. They put a netting on the astral plane, so that as our consciousness left our body at death, we would be stuck in the astral plane, where the only place for us, our consciousness, to go was to back down into the physical reality. So we get caught up in a karmic loop, in a pattern of reincarnation, because our consciousness had nowhere to go because of the architecture in our DNA. You with me so far? I've only got 30 minutes. Usually it takes me 2 or 3 days to get through all this. I'm doing the best I can, okay? So through this capping, we come back down and we accumulate karma through having choices and behaviors out of divine right alignment with natural law. Every time we operate and behave out of natural law, it creates karma, creates a twist in some of our nadis, it holds a vibration in our energetic architecture, which creates an attractor field for us to experience the exact opposite, what we set in motion against natural law. So therefore, what happens over thousands of lifetimes, how much karma do you think we've collected? Quite a lot. And as our own individual journey, we've got not only our past life karma to get through, we've got to get through our parents' karma as well, and their parents and their generational parents, and all of that. So there's a little bit of work to do, but right now, we've got the acceleration happening. So we can go much faster. We can go lifetimes faster at this point than we ever did before. So this hack came in, we started spiraling down, and here we are today. Now, here's when it starts to get interesting from the perspective of the guardians and what's happening going on. Before I get to that, the tree of life is, the whole universe is built off a 12-tree grid. The first thing you're going to notice with this tree of life from the Kabbalah, it's distorted. It only has 10 or possibly 11 spheres. The current model has 11 spheres. The old model had 10. 10 spheres, 10 dimensions of consciousness, which fitted perfectly into the flower of life, but the flower of life is a consumptive model, closed loop architecture. And the Anunnaki put 10 dimensions into the tree of life to cap our consciousness at 10 dimensions. But we are living in a mathematical universe of base 12. 12 dimensions of consciousness. This is the true organic tree of life, which I am happy to report to you is now anchored on our planet. Okay, I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. Now, you can see here, there's these little access portals into stargates. Okay, now the 12-tree grid fits perfectly over our own energetic architecture and perfectly over the universal matrix. There's a divine precision and perfection to it all. Now, the divine plan. With this hack that had happened, we were at great risk for not making our evolutionary leap that was possible for us during this stellar activation cycle. A stellar activation cycle is the endpoints, coming into the endpoints of that racetrack, okay, that frequency band, the plasma, all right? And what happens on our planet is that naturally what should happen is that the Earth's stargates should organically begin opening. And they've been opening since the year 2000, and they'll keep going to 2022. Why that's important is that the stargates need to open to accrete the frequency coming into the planet. 26,000 years ago, the cycle, there was a stalemate between the guardians and what we would call the other beings in service to self, what we might call the negative agenda groupings. And there was a stalemate. They had to shut the grids down. They had to shut the stargates down so the planet didn't have that opportunity to ascend. This is our, a numerous of times around in this opportunity. And so this is the time when we're going to make the leap. Okay? This is the time where we stand in our power and make it happen because of the interfaces of this divine plan set in motion. The Guardian Alliance came out of a grouping called the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds, basically the United Nations of the galaxy. The Guardian Alliance is a bit like the Jedi Knights, with groupings of beings of different star nations in service to others, unconditional love and obeying the law of one. They are basically the troubleshooters going on in the universe, and they just set in motion a plan. Here was the plan. Because of what happened in World War II and all that nonsense that was going on with Hitler and the Nazis who were following the Black Sun agenda of the Anunnaki, what almost happened is that our planet almost went, we were going downwards and downwards and downwards in a descending spiral. We were in a phantom matrix going down. What happened was that when the nuclear bombs went off, they kind of went, these very evolved spiritual beings kind of went, oh shit, the kids have got fireworks. Okay. Now that they are influencing beings outside of their own planet because the ripple effects of those nuclear bombs continue to go off across the other multi-spheres. Right, we better do something about it. Council meeting, basically it was decided that the council decreed that we're going to incarnate into this planet. And a call went out across the multiverses to other star nations. Who wants to go to planet Earth and volunteer to be there? To be supporting during this transition, during this ascension portal. Some of you in this audience may be guardians from other star systems. Some of you may have children from other star systems with very evolved consciousness fields. And we agreed to come. I'm from another star system. Some of you may connect with that. Who here feels they're from another star system? Okay, we've got quite a lot of hands up here. You are the systems busters, the game changers, the revolutionaries, evolutionaries here because you're bringing with you the architecting plans of your star system to bring it back down to here to help with this evolution. That's exciting, huh? When you know who you are and what you're here for. So with that in motion, because there's a non-interference directive in the universe, you can't directly interfere with another species. The other beings know that, and so do the guardians. So when you actually incarnate in yourself, the hope being is that by the time the stellar activation cycle kicks off, these beings, because it's coded in their DNA, will wake up and will remember who they are, what they're here to do, and follow their heart into their purpose and begin to create the systems and architecture in the physical dimension that will support the evolution of our species. And that is what's been happening. Many beings around the planet have been spontaneously waking up. Who here is going through their own little waking up process, their own evolutionary cycle and consciousness? And the reason that's happening is because we're entering into what's known out of the Kali Yuga into the Satya Yuga. There's much prophesized golden eon of time. And the golden eon of time is simply these faster wavelengths, these faster frequency bands, which are now bombarding our planet. We are going through a massive particle shift. Now, something very interesting is happening here. With this particle shift that's happening, these faster frequencies are coming into the planet. We're unlocking our Earth grids from these bi-waves that have been locking down the consciousness field into a closed loop architecture that have been forming their net of control, which has been keeping us suppressed. Our stargates have been spontaneously opening. A stargate has three portions to it. It has the stargate itself, the planetary arc of the covenant, and it also has the Q site, the activation site. And these three things work together to pop open the Stargate. And we've got 12 Stargates because there are 12 dimensions of consciousness. Now I'm just going to flick through these slides, and as I'm flicking through these slides, just quickly scan some of the names where these things are located and some of the universes where they go to, the galactic places they go to. And you begin to see that quite often there's some interesting things being built at some of these Stargates sites, right? Because what happens if you control the Stargates? You control interstellar travel. You control the big picture of what's really going on the plan. Vatican, Rome. Oh my goodness, I did some work one day on the ceremony there. It was very heavy in the Vatican. They're trying to control the systems there. Remember 26,000 years ago, it was a little bit of a stalemate. So the first mission for the Guardians was to come back and try to get control of some of these Stargates. And how does that happen? Well, they need proxies. They need other beings who are physically incarnated who can go to these sites, who can be the conduit for the frequency and current that the Guardians can send through and the source consciousness can send through that comes through our DNA architecture into the earth grids. And so what's been happening is that many light workers, who knows the term light workers? Okay, these are the healers. These are probably what mainstream considers the crazy ones, right? But actually, what they know is they understand physics. They understand quantum physics. They understand healing and light codes. And many of these beings have been following their heart call and going around the planet, setting up new energy patterns to allow the Stargates to come back into control. And there's been this kind of interdimensional kind of game of chess or Game of Thrones that's been playing on. And I'm happy to report that all Stargates are now in Guardian control. Okay, let's give it up to the Guardians. Okay, what that means is that they are able to bring all that together. Okay, so all these frequencies are coming through, and we've just moved through something called the particle convergence. Particle convergence 2017, August 21. 3-day window when all dimensions of consciousness, 1 through 12, as well as the source field of founding races 13, 14, 15, started to come into our planet. Okay, and all dimensions lined up for 3 days. And so this was a very, very significant window because we had this opportunity to bring down what was held in the highest dimensions and anchor it into Earth. And something quite mind-blowing happened. What happened, and I've just been told by the Guardians, I can share this with you, that these here are diamonds. And these diamonds physically manifested into this dimension as dimensions 15, 14, and 13 physically embodied. It was like crazy when we saw them. I've held them in my hand because they materialized into this dimension. The 3 white ones are the form-holding morphogenic field and matrix to hold that. And the ones that you see, the magenta, the pale blue, the pale gold, and the aquiline, are dimensions 15, 14, 13, the actual frequencies physically embodied as diamonds. Incredible, huh? It's like amazing. Those frequencies now, those dimensions have come in to our planet in the physical. Those dimensions are now broadcasting in the physical frequency, meaning dimensions 15, 14, and 13 are no longer form-holding frequencies for this 12-dimensional matrix. They're sending this frequency from inside out. And we buried these in a place around the planet where they're going to be safe, and they are now broadcasting that frequency around the planet. So, incredible. 2017, we took a group. I've been involved in a lot of these missions interfacing with the Guardians, where we take groups to do this energetic work. We were inside the King's Chamber on the 21st of August, 2000. You'll remember it from the eclipse. And we were doing a massive ritual, bringing in the sound, light codes, and what happened is we actually overrode that energetic patterning, and the arc of consciousness shifted from 60-degree angles, which created the flower of life, to 45-degree angles, which creates the crystal spiral, the new geometry for the golden age. So please give a round of applause to all these beings who came and said yes for that mission and anchored it in. What we saw at that time was the Earth's first three chakras transmute up. So the Earth's first 3 chakras have transmuted, and that's what ascension is, transmutation of lower frequencies up into the higher frequencies. The planetary karma dissolved. And we also went back in December 21, which is the second group you see, to do the particle emergence, which was to then take our timelines forward for humanity. And here you can see the actual image. This is a video taken outside under the Sphinx on the morning, just after we came out of the King's Chamber. We went outside and we were doing some more work under the Sphinx. One of our initiates took that. This is the particle convergence, this beam coming through, all dimensions coming through our planet. Extraordinary. So we now have a new geometry of creation. This geometry is a crystal spiral that has a relationship with source. This is the geometry under the Great Pyramid now, being broadcast out to our planet. What this means? Game over. Game over. It is done, okay? Now, as well as that, I want to go through the mathematics so you can see the perfection in its relationship with source. Every 45 degrees, this geometry doubles in size, but still has a relationship with its center. Goes back to source, rotates 45 degrees and doubles. Goes back to source, rotates 45 degrees and doubles. 0 to 1, back to 0, 1, 1, 2, back to 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, back to 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 8, back to 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, back to 0, 32, 64, boom. So there's a breath in and out with source now. And this is the morphogenic form-holding grids that is architected into our planet, creating a whole new Christic source field. And this Christic source field is no longer dimensionalized and held in frequency bands. We're coming in to true Christ consciousness on our entire time-space matrix, where all dimensions of consciousness are blended into one 12th dimensional consciousness field. And all we are going through now is this transition, this linear transition of time that we're experiencing in the 3D till we eventually come up into this energetic field where we are living in this field, and it's known as this our planet's highest avatar consciousness field is known as Aramentana. We've got Earth here in the first 3 dimensions, Tara, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, Gaia, dimensions 7, 8, and 9, and Aramentana, dimensions 10, 11, 12. And that's our planet's consciousness evolving as we are evolving on her. So we've overridden this geometry, which is held in place now. And the next piece of the missions that I've been guiding is I needed to go to Israel, to the home of the Kabbalah. Now, as you all can see, the home of the Abrahamic religions of Islam, Judaism, Christianity, all following a patriarchal false father god. Okay, that false father god is siphoning all of that directed prayer energy that is going through the satanic rituals of the various methodologies that those religions use. For example, the communion, drinking of the blood of Christ and drinking and eating the flesh. I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, all of that energy kind of gets siphoned off planet, and part of it was that the Kabbalah came out of this portal, and it had the old energetic architecture anchored into the grids. So we went there November 11 this year on the 1111 portal. We used these alignments to go in and do the work. We brought in this trinitized wave format, and we overrode the grids with the new with the organic 12 tree grid. And this is the architecture now that is under just outside of Jerusalem in the home of the Kabbalah. We had a very interesting conversation with the rabbi, which is amazing. So what I'm here to share with you is the morphogenic form-holding fields of all of those things are now there. That is what physical reality is created upon. And the only question you need to ask yourself is, how does that affect me? It affects you everything, because now you have this opportunity to connect directly with source. This form-holding frequency and morphogenic field is rising up in frequency. It's coming through the grids. Our Earth is ascending, and the only question you need to ask is, how am I going to participate in that? So hands up, who's ready to participate? Yeah? All right. So what you need to do is you need to work on your spiritual acceleration. You need to start working on your consciousness. You need to start activating your angelic diamond sun DNA template. Here's the benefit of doing that. This is a partially activated DNA template with 3 strands of DNA activated, bringing through 3 dimensions of consciousness. When you've got all 12 strands of activated of DNA, look at how much light you can pull through your DNA template. You can bring 12 wavelengths of light through your DNA, which amplifies every intention. And so I'm guided now that my next part of my mission is that the planetary architecture is set up. My next part of my mission is focusing on 2 groups. The first group is consciousness for kids. We need to solve this bullshit at school of trapping them into the left brain. We need to create solutions for education that's going to make them more creative. So I'm starting to do some work on this. This is a project in New Zealand called Green School New Zealand. Just take a look at the design. This is a design, this school's opening 2020, all about creativity and consciousness. We're going to be opening a centre in Tulum. We're going to be opening a centre in South Africa. If there's any billionaires in the room, we'd love your help. Okay? Imagine sending your child here. Okay? This is Lemuria. This is like, we've got acres and acres of this amazing land. I've just moved to New Zealand to see this project through. The next thing we need to work on is you guys, your personalized leadership. decentralized leadership. So I'm here to kind of work on leaders, and this is why I've come to experiment with this audience, because usually I work with more spiritual initiates, but I was thinking that you guys are ready. Who's ready? Who's ready to step up? So I'd love to take some of you on a journey, those of you that are ready, and come back in a year and really see the shifts. And if you're ready to do that, I'd love to support you. We've got to realize that our consciousness is a holographic light projector. How our consciousness works is through our vibration, light, soul, okay? We need to connect in, imagining ourselves like a movie projector with our consciousness, the light that shines onto our DNA that creates and shapes our reality through the projector. And when we start working on soul alignment and our activations and actualizations, we end up living abundantly, because that is who we are. Abundance is not what you have, it's who you are. And when you start feeling abundant on the inside, everything begins to change. So what you need to start doing is reprogramming your operating system, your consciousness, bioenergy field, and DNA. You start to then activate your avatar energetics and start streaming through. This enormous field of consciousness starts coming through everything you're doing. And if you're ready to do that, then we all start changing reality, because up in those faster wavelengths are all the solution sets for the new earth. You hold those solution sets for the new earth, you're going to start bringing them through. We start changing the physical symptoms. The blockchain is just one example of decentralized processes that are doing that. Decentralized systems are unity consciousness expressing itself in the physical. My question to you is, what are you going to do? How are you going to turn up in the world? What changes are you going to make? Connect with your soul purpose. And if you'd like to kind of, get started on that process, I've got a lot more information. I've got a morning routine for you, a morning ritual that if you start your day like that, you're going to get switched in, keyed in, and start this process upwards. So get out your smartphones, Christof.love/unchain. If you Christof.love/unchain, I'm going to send you some information to kind of get started with all of that, because we're all here in support of the divine plan. It's been my great pleasure to seed all this with you. I'm going to go next to the wellness room to talk about more specifically how you can do that. If you want to join me there, that'd be great. Otherwise, link in here, and I hope to see you around the conference. Namaste. Thank you.